see. What's he got in here? What's your opinion on Heupel? I'm not sold on him. Yeah, man, I think he's perfect for Central Florida. I think if he moved to an SEC school, it wouldn't go that well. I don't think that Josh Heupel is built like Lane Kiffin, though I think that's the corollary. I think that, or not the corollary, I think that's the comparison. I think that Lane Kiffin has matured in a way that I did not think that Lane Kiffin would ever mature. Like when he was head coach at USC, it was bad. He was petulant. He was a child. He got run out on a rail in Tennessee. He ends up at the Nick Saban Rehabilitation Clinic, takes that job to offensive coordinator, and then gets fired after winning the college football playoff semifinal game against Washington because he's calling plays that they hadn't practiced in the week leading up. And Saban had had enough. He said, just take the job at Florida Atlantic. Your focus is not here. And that's gotta suck, right? So the way that Kiffin put it when talking about his relationship with Saban is like, it's like a divorce. It's like a bad divorce. They're not really friends. I mean, they're not so pissed at each other that they don't want to talk. But, you know, they're not exactly like texting each other and picking each other up after losses. And I think when you talk about Heupel, and you talk about Oklahoma, for instance, that's Heupel and Bob Stoops, because I don't think they've actually spoken since Bob fired him and brought in Lincoln Riley. Plus, you got to remember, Josh was OC over at Missouri before taking the job at Central Florida. What job would he take in the SEC? Don't nobody want Vanderbilt. So what do you think he's going to do? Think he ends up taking over a piss-poor ACC team like a Vatech? Maybe. It could work there. But I think a lot of that also has to do with Randy Shannon was defense coordinator, and recruiting the hell out of Florida, you're going to put up points because Florida only lacks offensive linemen. That's it. You can get everything else, quite literally, in South Florida, Central Florida, or Northeast Florida, Lower Georgia. Okay? Like Derrick Henry comes out of Florida. Lamar Jackson comes out of Florida. We can go on here. I think a lot of it has to do with location. Because if you put Josh Heupel in Nebraska, where Scott Frost is, he probably has the same sort of, experience that Scott Frost is having in Nebraska right now. Because it's really difficult to recruit to Nebraska. What's in Lincoln? More to the point, who's in Lincoln? Ain't nothing there but you. Like, they make jokes about Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's 3 hours from Dallas, right? 4 hours from St. Louis. Tulsa's right there. Oklahoma City Thunder right there. You got stuff to do. There ain't jack to do in Nebraska. Whereas at Central Florida, it's Orlando. It's Disney World. You can get to a coast either side. I think a lot of that has to do with location. And I think Heupel's in a great spot right now. The dude that I would be really interested to see what he does after this year is 34-year-old Marcus Freeman, because I've been on the Marcus Freeman train for 2 years. For 2 damn years. I wanted Marcus Freeman to take a top Power 5 coordinator position or get himself a Group of 5 head coaching position, because I think that dude is absolutely a stud. So stop talking about Heupel in that way. Start talking about Marcus Freeman in Cincinnati in that way. So we got us in here. Does LSU's season show that Ed Orgeron didn't deserve the Coach of the Year in 2019? No, it doesn't. I mean, they went undefeated. Still one of the better teams to ever play college football. I think you could rank them number 3 on the all-time list behind 1945 Army and 95 Nebraska. Because that 95 Nebraska team, nobody was even close. Nobody was even close to that Nebraska team at all. You think about the competition that was around in that time. It's stupid. But yeah, let him hold that Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year award. Got himself into a $9 million contract annual. Yeah. Is it worth that to you, LSU? Knowing that y'all won national championships with Les Miles and Saban before that? We'll find out. Man, I got a stuffy nose today. RJ, I believe positive thinking. It's just that first half play keeps me from trash talking. Yeah, I get it. I understand. Dude got UGA winning 49-32 over Bama. I don't think UGA is going to put up 49. I know they put up 44 on Tennessee, but I don't think they're going to put up 49. I think this game is, 35-31? And I'm going to pick Bama, right? Because I also picked Bama to win the national championship in January. Okay? So that's where that pick is coming from. I think Georgia can do with the loss and still make the SEC championship game, and then maybe they can get over the top of an Alabama. But I don't really care who wins this game in October, because I think those are going to be two teams that are there at the end. That I also think that Mac Jones has got better weapons than Stetson Bennett. I mean, Najee Harris is ridiculous. And you know what it is with Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. I mean, yeah, JT Daniels has been cleared to play football for 2 weeks. They just haven't played him. Answering the question from Michael Jones. Let me see what else got in here. Corey Karhoff. Ain't that on Saban, though? Like, maybe you should throw a curveball at Kiffin that he's not ready for. I mean, to a degree. But you also got to remember, Saban recruits in the way that he recruits so that he doesn't have to throw curveballs. Like, Saban loads up so that he can be a Aroldis Chapman. Okay? That ain't to say that Aroldis Chapman can't get yanked yard. He threw 100 miles an hour over the plate. Tampa Bay outfielder put it into the second deck at 105. So it's possible. It's just not going to happen all the time. It's just not. That said, if I can load up the cupboard to where I can tell you what I'm doing and you still can't stop it, that's how Nick Saban has won for the last 11 years. I don't see why he would change that, except to say he did make that change to the dual threat quarterback, the guy that can move around back there, because he saw that the Greg McElroys of the world, the A.J. McCarrons of the world weren't going to get it done. Okay? I would recruit like Nick Saban only to be able to say, look, I'm going to run base defense, base offense, because my athletes are just better than your athletes, which is what Jimmy Johnson used to win at Miami. I mean, you look at great college football teams, that's generally what it is. Like, the argument for LSU for so long was, it doesn't matter that they run I-formation murder football. They have better athletes. I mean, they had Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. come through, and they didn't win a national championship. They had Ryan Perrilloux come through, couldn't win. They had Leonard Fournette come through, couldn't win. And you think about what Clyde Edwards-Helaire is doing with Kansas City right now. Justin Jefferson at the Vikings, right? Like, you continue to look around, and you see, no wonder they won. They just were that good. And I don't know that they developed all that well, although everybody seems to be developing better than Texas. I think when you look at what they have in the cupboard, it shouldn't be close. Now, I also think there's something to be said about Lane Kiffin perhaps just being a good offensive mind alongside Jeff Lebby. You know, like that, maybe we're just not giving enough credit there. Because I know we think of Nick Saban in the way that we think of Bill Belichick, which is to say that, you know, he is Lord of Lords, but that doesn't mean he can't bleed. I mean, for me, this Ole Miss thing is a Xerxes moment, right? This is Leonidas just showing everybody that you can make him bleed. They didn't win the war. Like, that's not what happened. The Persians beat the Spartans. That's what happened. The point of 300 was to show that the God King can bleed. Now we know that the God King can bleed in Alabama. Georgia's a better football team than Ole Miss, or at least I think so. What else got in here? Texas whiffs on Meyer. Do the Longhorns look at the next O'Brien Fleck? Take a swing at Venables. Man, I think everybody's going to take a swing at Venables. Like, I get that. But Venables doesn't want to go anywhere. As for PJ Fleck, I don't know that he wants the problems that Texas is going to pose to him. The problem with taking the job at Texas is that you got to win tomorrow. Like, Texas makes way too much money and recruits way too well to not win at least a conference championship every other year, if not every year. The thing that people want from PJ Fleck, he's giving them in Minnesota. They're not asking to win a Big Ten championship. They're asking to be respectable. They're asking to be a top 25 program. They're not asking for anything more than that. It's the same problem I would have with somebody trying to take over the job at Ohio State. Ryan Day's just been up to the task, right? Like, even Nebraska, right now, they just want to be respectable. They're not even asking, can we really do this thing, right? Like, They're asking, can we just not be bad? Can we be just kind of cool? Is that okay? So I get where you're coming from. As for Bill O'Brien, why do y'all keep wanting to give that man a job? Like, let Bill O'Brien just sit over there and cook for a while. Why do people keep bringing up Bill O'Brien as taking a job? He could. He don't want to do this. You know, like y'all take a swing at Joe Brady, but he don't want to do this either. He wants to coach in the NFL. That's the problem I think you're going to run into. You're going to try to what? Hire Steve Sarkisian from Alabama? Nah, I don't want them problems. Don't want him at all. I think the move is Graham Harrell at USC. Okay? Tom knew this last year. Tom wanted to go hire Graham Harrell to be his offensive coordinator and was rebuffed. Had to end up taking Mike Yurcich, quarterback's coach at Ohio State. And I think in one way that's a gangster move. Because if you hire the dude that they wanted to hire to replace you, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for him to just be like, yeah, I'll take the job. Because you hired him. Now you get to fire Tom Herman. You get to go hire Graham Harrell, who is a native son and one of the prize kiddos to ever come out of Enos, Texas, let alone Texas Tech, let alone the University of let alone Texas Tech University. And you get what you think is another Lincoln Riley. Because that's what Texas really wants. Texas wants Lincoln Riley. And it burns Texas fans up that A, Lincoln Riley grew up in West Texas in Muleshoe. B, his mother and father are UT alums. And C, he grew up thinking about UT. He grew up thinking about Texas. And now he's the head coach of your arch nemesis and cooking you. 4 out of 5 meetings with head coach Lincoln Riley, UT's got L's. If you bring in Graham Harrell, you bring in a guy that's also a Leach disciple who believes in running the football. So go get Graham Harrell, give him the reins, and then see what you got. I think people are also going to take it a little bit easier on Graham Harrell in a way that they might not for this dude y'all want to give jobs in like Bill O'Brien and PJ Fleck. Because they have reputations as head coaches. Graham Harrell doesn't have that. Neither did Lincoln Riley. There's too many parallels there for Texas not to want a Graham Harrell. That's who I would pick to take the job. That's who I think should take the job.